Hello, my name is Adam.
And I'm Leon.
And we are the co-creators of L3GACY. L3GACY is an NFT project trying to crowdfund the construction of community-needed projects in vulnerable areas.
Where? The places that need them. We've been in talks with our partners in Kenya and Mozambique, talking to them directly, asking them what their communities need and how we can provide that. So far our locations are centered around Kenya and Mozambique, Bobole.
Yes, and they require a house and a market at the moment. And we are in talks with expanding this later.
Hey Adam, what makes L3GACY different from other charities?
Well, thank you for that question. So, what we have here is a representation of the problem that we want to address. On the left hand here, we have you, the investor, the individual, the donor, the person with the money. And over here, we have the vulnerable person who, in this scenario, doesn't have a house, needs a house. Pretty standard. So, you, the individual, may be in a position where you want to help this person who is less fortunate. Now, typically, what you would do is go through one of these charities, right? The big, centralized entities that generally take care of this matter. So, what's going to happen is, your donation is essentially going to contribute to their pool of money. Now, this pool of money is managed by these top people sitting in their big fancy suits, generally smoking cigars, and eating quite well, as you can see. Unfortunately, oftentimes they pocket some of this money that actually comes into the pool. So the capital is going to dance around these guys, some of it's going to go out, bleed out, but eventually it's going to trickle down over here to the actual process where they are going to conduct the construction of, in this example, the house. However, as they are addressing this problem from generally an external perspective, oftentimes sitting in, for example, these people often sit in more developed countries, and the problem is in less developed countries, they're often addressing it with a mindset from this external country. And this leads to not including the most efficient or optimal processes of, for example, hiring workers, transportation, choosing materials. So what's going to happen is that it's going to take a really long time, or, for example, a lot of inefficient processes that might lose actually some capital, some time, etc. That could complicate the process towards solving the problem for the user. But eventually, it's going to come here and it's sold. However, as you can see here, the front side of what the user, the donor, generally sees is only this part. This long and complicated process is in the background, but it's happening. And we want to be a contrasting force to this. So, what are we? L3GACY. Well, we simply want to be a medium of allocating your capital directly into the hands of people, organizations that are capable and will use the most efficient and optimal processes determined by close partnerships, a lot of research, to apply the most optimal processes for the local communities to solve the actual demand. Now, not just will you be donating money to us, but contrasting to this case above here, where you actually lose money when you're donating. Of course, you're losing it for an altruistic motive, so it's often accepted. But here, we want to actually apply another dimension of incentivizing donation to this charitable cause. We want to actually return you with an NFT, a digital asset. Hopefully just to get more of you to donate more, and hopefully increasing the probability that this demand can actually be met. And hopefully this NFT is either an emotional thanks to you, rather than an automated thank you message from these bigger charities, or perhaps a chance for financial returns. So Leon, how is L3GACY different from other NFT projects?
Now, L3GACY separates itself from other NFT projects in a variety of ways. We've just talked about how L3GACY is different than normal charities, but L3GACY is also significantly different than all other NFT projects. And this is, first off, because we are 100% certain not a rug pull. However ironic it might sound that I'm saying that, but we are not a rug pull. Unlike lots of other projects that are cash grabs, it's only for the creator so they can get the money. We are trying to get the money for the community. This brings a social value to our NFTs. These have a significance in the greater aspect of just the world in general. Moreover, 100% of the first sales will go to charity. This is pretty significant, as maybe other NFT projects will say that 5% of our profits will be donated to the WWF. We will be the charity ourselves, making sure that all of the money we get will go directly to the people that need it, the communities that need it, and the people who know how to best manage that money within the community. And this is what's also going to be helped through our transparency. We wish to be as transparent as possible to highlight the fact that we're not a rug pull, that we're doing this for the community. And we're going to do this by, showing you who we are. We're not going to hide away with some anonymous photos. We're going to show you exactly how we intend to use the money, where we intend to use the money, and why we intend to use it. Trying to be as transparent as possible, which is what essentially distinguishes us from other NFT projects and also makes us better than most charities. So now we're going to talk about what our actual game plan is. And L3GACY's game plan consists of 4 steps. The first one is building a community. We want to build a community on social media, garner a following, get your attention so you guys want to go along for this ride with us and help us. And the second element of building a community is building our partnerships and our connections with the people that have their boots on the ground. So we need to know exactly what they need and how they need it, and they know how we want to provide the resources for them. So we have a symbiotic relationship. And the next step is actually crowdfunding the NFT sales. So once we have gotten the community, we'll release the NFTs, crowdfund the money, and then the next step actually comes.
Yes, so then based on the relationships that we've acquired then in the building community stage, we would know which types of processes are the most optimal for the local community. These would then be applied in the construction phase. Then once the actual project is finished, whether it be a house or a school or something, then we would continue the the enhanced community building stage, hopefully being able to leverage the fact that we've completed this process once to perhaps raise an even bigger community, get more attention, and then hopefully apply the same concept to crowdfund another project and another project after that. And each subsequent project hopefully being able to scale it, perhaps providing more and more value each time that we've been able to collect a larger community and made more established processes.
So what will the NFTs actually look like? Now each NFT is going to be a 3D animation of the actual project we're going to build. For example, we are in talks with our partners in Kenya about building a house for a widow. That means we create a base NFT that would look like this. However, each individual NFT would correspond to exactly what your financial donation is going to help build. For example, if your donation is going to build the door of the house, you'll receive an NFT that looks like this, with a door highlighted to show exactly what you're contributing for. Now, why are we doing this?
Well, first of all, this goes into the point of transparency. We want to contrast the existing charities where you give a donation and you really have no idea to exactly what it's being used for. This leaves room for inefficient processes, not optimal transportation, employment methods, etc. being applied, resulting in kind of a waste of capital that could have been used for something better. Secondly, we want to appeal to a more better emotional purpose, where at least personally we feel like if you get a clear definition of exactly how you help these vulnerable people get something that they actually need, it's a lot better. It's a lot of a better feeling, and kind of feeling that okay, you donated X amount to, for example, the Red Cross for example, women in Afghanistan, but you don't know exactly how you helped. It might have gone to buying coffee for workers in like their main office in Switzerland, right? But here you're getting a clear definition of exactly, okay, I helped this vulnerable person get this house in Mozambique, and we think that's a lot of a nicer feeling. Exactly. Yeah. So how will the sale of the actual NFTs work? Well, for the primary sales, 100% of the money raised will go to the purposes identified by each individual NFT. Meaning, if you purchased an NFT for the construction of a door, it will go directly to that, nothing else. Except for the occasional gas fee, of course, blockchain. Now, for the actual pricing of each individual NFT, depending on what the NFT is contributing to, the pricing will follow accordingly. For example, going with the previous example, if you buy an NFT representing the funding for the door, The price of that will include the costs or the expected costs for the purchase of materials, transportation of materials, and let's say the cost of labor for setting up that door in the actual house. Now, for the NFTs that represents the more heavy-duty components of, for example, the house, like the roof, the price of the actual NFT then, of the entire process, might be too inflated, and we want to bring the threshold to invest down. So for the roof, or for the walls, or for the foundation, we might fractionalize the NFT into multiple smaller ones, into, for example, 4, where we can just divide the total overall cost by 4, while serving the same purpose. Finally, we want to make sure that we're not caught with our pants down if not every single NFT sells out in the primary sale. Of course, we are aware of the risk that this project may not 100% succeed, so we still want to find a way to provide value to the identified community, even if we don't get 100% of our target funding. For example, this could be by, with our partners in Mozambique, we are planning on building an open-air market, where they want approximately 20 to 50 stalls, where people can sell their fruit or meat. Then, for example, if we have a collection of 100 NFTs in that collection, if maybe even 20 of them sell out, perhaps we can construct 10 to 20 of these expected 20 to 50 stalls. So we still want to find some way to operate within a margin of error.
And now, the secondary sales. Now, the total amount of royalties you'll be getting will be 10%. And now we plan to divide this into 2 different avenues. The first one will be towards the treasury, where 7% of the secondary sales will go towards it. Now, the treasury will be dedicated to a few ideal concepts where we would like to create a buffer in case of unforeseeable expenditures. We would like to have some money in case of managerial expenses, as well as potential travel costs. You never know what could happen. So this is what we would like to call as our safety buffer. And the other 3%, now, essentially, well, Lambo.
What it's all about.
Exactly.